You know, I said I wasn't gonna buy this game, but here I am playing Tomodachi Life for multiple hours a day. You know, it's pretty rare for a game to take my interest like this, you know, scratch that creative itch. And so it made me start thinking about the last time a game had captivated me like this. Don't ask why it's not a box. Anyway, I wanted to make a fun little opinionated video taking a look at both these games and comparing the two, considering that they're both pretty similar in their appeal, and they both captivated a large group of people through the internet. Now, I love both of these games, with over 400 hours in Animal Crossing New Horizons and roughly 70-ish hours in Living the Dream. I just want to compare the two and see which one offers the overall better package. Just a fun little rivalry. Now, for this comparison, I'll be looking at the gameplay, the main loop of gameplay, as well as the creativity and minigame aspects, interactivity, how much you can interact with the game's characters and how much they interact with each other, the biggest positives, the real thing that stands out when I think about the game, the biggest negatives, those pesky little aspects that take away from the experience, and the longevity, how long this game will keep people coming back, and the seasonal updates. I believe that these aspects are the most important when it comes to these two side by side, and I'll try to be as fair as possible, so I'll be looking at Animal Crossing as the base game whenever it released. And I will be talking about the seasonal updates, but I will only be talking about the items that were added and how they were added, and I will not take into account the gameplay improvements, as Tomodachi Life I'm sure will get fixes that we haven't seen quite yet. So with that out of the way, let's put these two into the meat grinder and see which one comes out as the chimp chump and the top banana. The moment Tomodachi Life came out, there were so many people that had created some really impressive Miis and items. As over the past few years, Miis have been getting more and more customization, with Living the Dream being the pinnacle of all the creativity. A real standout feature is that the hair can be in a set or split between bangs and back, or the eye details that add just a little bit of flair. All these decisions alone would make this one of the best Mii makers, but with the inclusion of face paint, where you can practically add any detailing you want, well, this is near perfect. The creativity in the Mii Maker is fantastic, and I really hope this gets set as the standard moving forward in Mii Makers. But even without being a master with face paint, you still have a boatload of options. As for me, each time I created a Mii, I would spend half an hour minimum, just because there were so many different things I wanted to try and experiment with. This is without a doubt the selling point for many people, including myself. The item creation is also phenomenal, and really feels like an art program, with there being so many different settings, colors, and filter choices. I found myself completely immersed in creating some really fun things. And there are so many categories of things you can make. Edible foods, pets, clothing, walkable tiles, 3D objects, and buildings. And then being able to hand those creations over to your Mii and see how they interact, it's all just a blast. The gameplay of Tomodachi Life focuses around the Miis and their interactions, as you, the player, are much more of an outsider looking in on your ant colony. The main end goal is a number of things. It really is up to you to determine what you define as the end. Maybe it's completing the catalog, maybe it's unlocking all the level up items, maybe it's filling out your island with 70 Miis, maybe it's getting to space, or maybe it's building out an island that just feels complete. The point is that there's more than just one simple end. As you're looking around your island, your Miis will sometimes ask you to play a game. Winning results in getting an item. There are a few different types of mini-games, but I often found myself playing the same 3 or 4 more than any other. I mean, I played the Latte Mii guessing game like once, I played Poke the Ferris Wheel a few times, and I played Spot the Difference a total of 1 time in my hours of playing. It is fun to play the minigames, but I play a lot of no repeats, which I'm 99% sure only has the category of food. Why is that? Every time you start it up, it says the category, but that doesn't change. It just makes it feel more unfinished, you know? And that goes for a few other parts in the game as well. Animal Crossing, on the other hand, has a lot less creativity in terms of your characters. You do get face paint in New Horizons, but villager customization is extremely lacking. I guess that's to be expected, considering that this wasn't a function in any of the prior titles. And you can give your villagers things to wear, but they rarely do. And customizing a villager's house is a no-go, which means whatever villagers you get at the start will always have very bland-looking houses that have barely anything to do with the villagers themselves. But that being said, I think Animal Crossing has more overall creativity. You can't create your own items, but you can put textures on items and put your own personal spin on them. But even without that, Animal Crossing has plenty more items that allow for much more open-ended creativity, mashing multiple items together and making them look like a much more complex object, like buildings. There's also not an extremely limited amount of items you can put on your island, which helps with the creativity part. As for the gameplay of New Horizons, it's focused on building out your island. There are plenty of side things you can do, like getting the villagers you want, finishing the catalog, or completing the museum, but there's also a base endpoint in getting KK Slider on your island, and paying off all your loans to fully upgrade your house. Both of these are much more rewarding and satisfying than the endpoint in Tomodachi Life, in my opinion. Overall, Tomodachi Life focuses more of its efforts into opening the door and letting people's mind create whatever characters and items they want, but in turn lacks any island customization, as well as really any major thing to strive for. It feels like you make things just to make things, which is fine, but it relies solely on your mind's creativity, as well as your artistic ability, and that for me, I think tips it over to Animal Crossing. In the past, Animal Crossing was built around interactions between villagers and you, each one having their own personality that would make them fun to talk to. And maybe that was more of the focus because the creativity aspect was lacking in those older titles. But New Horizons took a different approach, allowing for complete customization through island layout, building location, to which villagers you want to stay on your island, to your own personal villager customization, all that stuff. And I love all these aspects because it makes me feel more connected to my island. But that comes at the cost of villagers fitting much more into their archetypes and sounding very similar. Like each jock-type villager will talk about the same things in the same way, and it sucks. I mean, outside of aesthetical choices, there's no difference between Agent S and Bunny. They're both peppy villagers, so they'll talk the exact same, which is a little disappointing as a lot of the villagers I like often fall within the same archetype. Villagers also don't really interact with each other, or if they do, it's in the minimalist way possible. Rarely I'll ever see villagers sing with each other or get into fights. I kinda wish that there was some more connection between villagers on my island. Nothing super complex, but maybe something as simple as seeing them fishing together. I don't know. Tomodachi Life, on the other hand, is built around interactivity, with each me feeling unique and doing their own thing. And it helps when you get level up items that expands upon their personalities. But I also do think that there is a little bit more of an underlying uniqueness to each me. For instance, about 80% of the time whenever someone's in a fight, I know it's Zombie Miku. Or for some reason, gaming time is either not getting along with someone or they aren't getting along with him. I feel like any character can go in any direction, and I get a personalized connection to each of them. Also, the amount of random romance that happens between me's gets me invested in their lives and watch them like they're some sort of TV show or something. And this game can throw curveballs at you sometimes. Like when you think you know what's gonna happen, it still surprises you. Like, how did Grace and Hotel Mario end up together whenever neither of them liked each other? I don't know, but I'm interested to see if they stay together or what happens later down the road. And I could do this with every character on my island, which just goes to show how engaging this game is from the life sim angle. Only problem I have is that I wish that there was more interactions in the personalized level up items. Like some of them have group activities like running or soccer, but then you have something like baseball where you just have your me sit in a random corner and throw a baseball into their mitt over and over again. But even without that, I'd still give the edge to Tomodachi Life. The biggest positives are a bit of a weird category, but I want to talk about the best aspects of each game and whether the positives of one are better than the positives in another. Tomodachi Life has a few really positive aspects, for instance the creativity and drawing system, but I actually found that aspects like daily logins were much easier and more rewarding in Tomodachi Life than in Animal Crossing. Just the ease of logging in, collecting your daily cash, checking the store for new items, and doing me checkups was all super easy. I would also have a reason to check in later in the day, as the marketplace would change its discounted item 3 separate times, with the last one being a blind bag of 3 to 4 random items. The clothing store is also super nice. I'm not exactly a fan of having to buy every color of every clothing item in order to complete the catalog, but I like how some aspects are made slightly easier. For instance, the item sets, which give you multiple items at once. The drawback being that if you already have most of the items in the set, it might be best to just skip it. Well, also the tags on on items, letting you know if something is new to you or if there's colors available. It's also just super easy to see how many of each item you have. I would also say that the mini games, for as few of them as there feel to be, are still a positive. As in New Horizons, there aren't any other than the item hunt, which are really rare to get anyways. But I will say New Horizons has much more massive positives. For instance, I never feel like I'm aimless. I always feel like there's a sense of progression, especially in the first few hours trying to get KK Slider onto your island. But after that point, I still feel like there's always something I could be doing. I really love how many things are active at the same time, and you can decide which of them you're willing to do at any given moment. For instance, you could upgrade your house, or collect items for the museum, or build out your island. There's also some smaller things like collecting animal statues or getting the golden flowers that are just a nice side quest. Another huge positive I have are all the little side events that I think create some memorable moments. For instance, the star watching and collecting star bits and craftable items from Celeste, or the ghost guy that goes around and then you have to collect all his spirits. I also find myself willing to spend more time messing around in this game than Tomodachi Life, spending hours on just a small section of my island trying to perfect every detail and create something truly cool. On a similar note, the layering of the island was just perfect. I found myself a little disappointed when I figured out that the only layering you could get in Living the Dream was from the beach to the land. I mean, come on, trying to layer parts of the island is one of the best aspects of the island creation in New Horizons. But I gotta say that the community aspect was something that really elevated this game. Tomodachi Life has the ability to share me's and moments, but New Horizons was really perfect for getting inspiration and help from other people. I found myself looking at other people's work and wanting to recreate it in some fashion on my own island. I tried to do something similar with Tomodachi Life, but I generally ended up feeling like the game was very limiting in its non-drawing creative aspects. And I can't talk about the positives of New Horizons without mentioning the music. The song selection at first didn't really make that much of an impression on me, but as time has gone on, I can say that it's up there with the other games. I genuinely would start thinking of an Animal Crossing song that I would think was so iconic to me that I believed it was from one of the earlier titles, only to look it up and it's from New Horizons. And this isn't to say that Tomodachi Life's music is bad, far from it. I love some of the songs in that game, and I'm sure with time these tracks will ring in my head the same way New Horizons does, but it hasn't reached that point yet. Animal Crossing might have the highest positives, but I also think it has the worst negatives. For multiple aspects, I found myself frustrated with mechanics that kind of take away from the experience. The more egregious ones being the single item crafting system. The whole process of building one item at a time is super rough and takes away from the experience. In the same vein, item buying has the same issue. I hate how you have to buy 3 or 5 of some items, and honestly, I don't even know why it works like this in the first place. Wouldn't it just be easier to allow players to select how many items they want? I don't know. But I really gotta talk about how if you don't get on after a few months, your island will be infested with weeds. Honestly, they're not that bad. They're super easy to clean up and stacked to 99 in each slot, and they have a hefty reward from Leaf if you're willing to stockpile them. No, the real issue are the flowers. These things are terrible. Getting back onto your island after a long break will have large patches of flowers which are not easy to clean up, which each one requiring you to take out your shovel and dig them up. But these don't get stacked in your inventory, leading it to get full really fast. And it may not sound that bad, but it's a long cycle as pulling out your gear takes time and it all adds up. And all this work just to take it to the store and sell for scraps. One of the other issues was getting all the items you want. This was remedied through the online trading as it created a massive community with a dedicated eBay type website, but that's only if you have Nintendo Online. If not, you better get lucky in those item balloons or the online shop. And that's not even mentioning how items are locked to a color on your island. So let's say, I don't know, you wanted the Skull CD player in the spooky white.
No man, you gotta take the Day of the Devil and that looks super cool and festive and shit. And definitely looks like it's meant to be there. Jackass.
Thanks. And now I gotta mention the biggest issue for me. The thing that single-handedly made me drop this game every single time I pick it back up. The DIY crafting recipes. My god, these things are terrible if you're trying to collect them. And I swear there's gotta be some like higher chance bullshit on this stuff. Because since the start of the game, there was one item I wanted for my seaside shop area. It took years for me to finally get it. And it's not for a lack of trying either. I would wake up morning after morning to collect the washed up bottles, and then get on 3 times a day to check on the villager crafting, and I went as so far as to research the chances of DIY items dropping from balloons. And it still took that long. And now I have so many of these goddamn things that are completely useless. And one aspect I hate about this whole thing is how you can't say no to a villager that wants to give you a recipe that you already have. You have to take it every time. And they sell for nothing too, so it just feels like a waste of time. I was hoping that at some point they would create a system where you could trade in a certain amount of already learned recipes for one that was new, but no such luck. Thanks. Tomodachi Life may not have as many glaring positives, but it doesn't have as many offensive negatives either. And as for the negatives, such as the dialogue options, I do feel like they could get improved over time. But yeah, that hasn't happened yet. And yeah, there is a limited amount of dialogue between me's. I pretty much saw most of them by the 10-hour mark, and by the 20-hour mark, I was getting really frustrated with how repetitive they started to feel. Many times when you get me's to be friends with each other, they have the same exact conversation as the last one. The only difference was that the keyword would change.
I mean, imagine if people did this in real life.
You know, I love pizza. Yeah, man, I eat pizza every day. You know, I love cameras. Yeah, man, I eat cameras every day. You know, I love Mario Strikers Charge. Yeah, man, I eat Mario Strikers Charge every day. You know, I love human remains. Yeah, man, I eat Mario Strikers Charge every day.
I would also end up seeing the same cafe interactions like the robots or Punk Pack just so many times. The conversation ad-libs feel sorely lacking, aside from the few off times where you get a fan meeting for big rigs over the road racing or something. Another issue I have is the level up system, which I think is a bit rough. When it comes to leveling up your Miis, it happens way too fast. I wish that each time a Mii leveled up, it would increase the amount that you needed for the next level up, so then it would feel a bit more rewarding whenever I got Ryu to level 13, you know? And on a similar note, the wishing fountain leveling feels bare bones at best. I would most closely relate this to the Nook Miles and New Horizons, but the problem here is that you get all the really fun unlocks, like the character animations, really early on, leaving anything after those first 20 levels to come off more empty. And that's not even talking about the travel tickets, which just feel like a boring option. I don't know, I think there just needed to be a bit more spice in the level up unlocks. The last thing I want to talk about is how I feel for the amount of content in the game. The $60 price tag is a bit too much to ask for. I'd probably say it's closer to $40 to $50 max. Just everything feels limiting and feels like it needs more to be a complete package. More interactions, more dreams, more 3D customization, and definitely more mini-games. Or at least some better than the ones like the Guess the Shadow or Coin Flip. And also add in the extra modes like the song creation or the Judgment Bay. I like those. But yeah, I feel like these are minor nitpicks and are definitely less intrusive compared to New Horizons. So I'll be giving the point to Tomodachi Life here. This is a hard one to gauge as of now because Tomodachi Life has just come out and hasn't received any real updates or changes, but I can make a guesstimation as to how the seasonal updates will be handled as there's already been one of those already. And I'd say that Tomodachi Life doesn't have much to show, just a few items that can be bought in the Wishing Fountain. And I do like that there's at least some seasonal items that gets players to come back and play every few months, but I don't think it's really enough. There's no events or seasonal items that can be handed to Miis, and the amount of items that are here are just lacking. There's also been no announcements for any big updates for the game, which would get fans excited for new things that will be added throughout its runtime. And I'm a little shocked by this, as games that aren't New Horizons have also gotten periodic updates, like Splatoon, ARMS, Mario Strikers Battle League. or really any other Mario sports game for that matter. But Tomodachi Life released a little underbaked and sold really well, yet there's nothing to really look forward to. I'm a little disappointed. Animal Crossing might have a leg up on this as we have already seen the full year of seasonal updates, meaning that I can better gauge and understand what they would add. But I think even without that, there's enough of a change between seasons that makes it better. There's new bugs and fish to collect, allowing for more playtime throughout the season. There's also seasonal items that are given as recipes, these then requiring you to collect seasonal items to craft them. But it's not just the big seasonal changes either, as Animal Crossing also adds items for smaller holidays like Mother's Day, Day of the Dead, or even something as obscure as Pi Day. These smaller seasonal items, I think, are not only a great way to learn about other cultural events, but also get people checking the item catalog and looking for any items they might have missed. And it's hard to say whether Tomodachi Life will have stuff like this or not, but I personally didn't see anything for Father's Day, so I would safely put my chips in the no category. And moreover, in Animal Crossing, there's seasonal characters for the big Easter and Halloween, although I wouldn't count that against Tomodachi Life quite yet, as it hasn't made it that far. So yeah, looking at both these games as which one offers more bang for your buck, I think Animal Crossing wins out. But that's not to say that Tomodachi Life sucks. I mean, I love this game. Look at my hour count. But I also think that there's reasons that someone will play Tomodachi Life over Animal Crossing. They just offer two separate experiences. But when I think about which game I'm going to be opening up a few months down the line, it's definitely going to be Animal Crossing. There's just so much more to do, see, and finish. And I will say I have been coming back to Animal Crossing just to finish up my museum and do more work on my island. They're both great games, and I guess what I'm trying to say with this video is that I think Tomodachi Life should add more content as seasonal updates or just general updates to make that $60 price tag just a little bit more worth it. You know what? I'll call it even. Tomodachi Life gets a point for something only it can do. Congratulations, Tomodachi Life, for allowing me to live the dream and get into a relationship.
She didn't even show up.